Life is complex. Join us for the simple gifts of wisdom, love, and delight in the written word. Letter from James Bowie to Governor Henry Smith. Behar, 2nd February, 1835. To His Excellency, H. Smith. Dear Sir, in pursuance of your orders, I proceeded from San Felipe to La Bahia, and whilst there employed my whole time in trying to effect the objects of my mission. You are aware that General Houston came to La Bahia soon after I did. This is the reason why I did not make a report to you from that post. The Commander-in-Chief has before this communicated to you all matters in relation to our military affairs at La Bahia. This makes it wholly unnecessary for me to say anything on the subject. Whilst at La Bahia, General Houston received dispatches from Colonel Commandant Neill, informing that good reasons were entertained that an attack would soon be made by a numerous Mexican army on our important post of Behar. It was forthwith determined that I should go instantly to Behar. Accordingly, I left General Houston, and with a few very efficient volunteers came on to this place about 2 weeks since. I was received by Colonel Neill with great cordiality, and the men under my command entered at once into active service. All I can say of the soldiers stationed here is complimentary to both their courage and their patience. But it is the truth, and your Excellency must know it, that great and just dissatisfaction is felt for the want of a little money to pay the small but necessary expenses of our men. I cannot eulogize the conduct and character of Colonel Neill too highly. No other man in the army could have kept men at this post, under the neglect they have experienced. Both he and myself have done all that we could. We have industriously tried all expedients to raise funds, but hitherto it has been to no purpose. We are still laboring night and day, laying up provisions for a siege, encouraging our men, and calling on the government for relief. Relief at this post, in men, money, and provisions, is of vital importance, and is wanted instantly. Sir, this is the object of my letter. The salvation of Texas depends in great measure in keeping Behar out of the hands of the enemy. It serves as the frontier picket guard, and if it were in the possession of Santa Anna, there is no stronghold from which to repel him in his march towards the Sabine. There is no doubt but very large forces are being gathered in several of the towns beyond the Rio Grande, and late information through Senor Casiana and others, worthy of credit, is positive in the fact that 1,600 or 2,000 troops with good officers, well armed, and a plenty of provisions were on the point of marching, the provisions being cooked, and so forth. A detachment of active men from the volunteers under my command have been sent out to the Rio Frio. They returned yesterday without information, and we remain yet in doubt whether they intend an attack on this place or go to reinforce Matamoros. It does, however, seem certain that an attack is shortly to be made on this place, and I think, and it is the general opinion, that the enemy will come by land. The citizens of Behar have behaved well. Colonel Neill and myself have come to the solemn resolution that we would rather die in these ditches than give it up to the enemy. These citizens deserve our protection, and the public safety demands our lives rather than to evacuate this post to the enemy. Again we call, aloud, for relief. The weakness of our post will at any rate bring the enemy on. Some volunteers are expected. Captain Patton, with 5 or 6, has come in, but a large reinforcement with provisions is what we need. James Bowie. I have information just now from a friend whom I believe that the force at Rio Grande, Presidia, is 2,000 complete. He states further that 5,000 more is a little back and marching on. Perhaps the 2,000 will wait for a junction with the 5,000. This information is corroborated with all that we have heard. The informant says that they intend to make a descent on this place in particular, and there is no doubt of it. Our force is very small. The returns of this day to the commandant is only 120 officers and men. It would be a waste of men to put our brave little band against thousands. We have no interesting news to communicate. The army have elected 2 gentlemen to represent the army and trust they will be received. James Bowie. This is the famous Alamo letter by Lieutenant Colonel William Barrett Travis, co-commander of the Alamo with James Bowie. The letter was written 1 day after the siege began. 11 days later, on March 6, 1836, the Alamo fell, and nearly everyone present was killed. Behar, February 24th, 1836. To the people of Texas, and all Americans in the world, fellow citizens and compatriots, I am besieged by 1,000 or more of the Mexicans under Santa Anna. I have sustained a continual bombardment and cannonade for 24 hours, and have not lost a man. The enemy has demanded a surrender at discretion. Otherwise, the garrison ought to be put to the sword, if the fort is taken. I have answered the demand with a cannon shot, and our flag still waves proudly from the walls. I shall never surrender, or retreat. Then I call on you in the name of liberty, of patriotism, and everything dear to the American character to come to our aid with all dispatch. The enemy is receiving reinforcements daily and will, no doubt, increase to 3,000 or 4,000 in 4 or 5 days. If this call is neglected, I am determined to sustain myself as long as possible, and die like a soldier who never forgets what is due to his own honor, and that of his country. Victory or death. William Barrett Travis, Lieutenant Colonel, Commandant. P.S. The Lord is on our side. When the enemy appeared in sight, we had not 3 bushels of corn. We have since found in deserted houses 80 or 90 bushels, and got into the walls 20 or 30 head of beeves. Travis. 'Tis the gift to be simple. 'Tis the gift to be free. 'Tis the gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend, we will not be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning, we come round right.